This is an example of some of the visual effects I did for The Current. And there weren't a lot of visual effects in this movie because the story didn't really need a whole lot of special effects. So the visual effects that were done were really done out of necessity. And this first scene showing right here is a good example with this cabin. This is what the cabin actually looks like, and this is the original footage. And you see the A-frame, the tall window, the second story, and that satellite dish just make it very obvious that it's not the 1940s. And so I had to either uh, shoot this scene without showing the top, which would have been really hard to do, or do some visual effects and some manipulation to get rid of the top half, which I decided would be the better choice. So I took this screenshot and then just photoshopping the image I was able to remove the top half, just replacing it with sky and with some trees. And I used that to create a matte which lets you play the footage underneath the image. So it's all, most of it, this image is a photoshopped picture with the footage playing underneath it. And when you color correct it, then it blends it all together. And I added a little tilt down there just to kind of, add some camera movement. And I think it worked very well. I don't think anybody ever questioned it. This had to be done in both angles, and this angle got particularly tricky because the actor Neil here, who's playing the deputy, you see his head's getting up there, where when I add the sky, it's cutting off the top of his head. So to get around that, I had to rotoscope the top part of his head, which is pretty much just tracing that part of the footage frame by frame. And that let me stick the top part of his head in front of the elements, in front of the cabin and the sky that gets added in. And I thought it looked really natural, and it wasn't too complicated. So, and I think when you see it in the scene, I don't think you would guess that it was a visual effects shot. The cabin was featured in two scenes, and so this had to be done in both those scenes. In this scene, there was a large. You see that branch that's hanging down? I just didn't want to fool with that branch, so I took it away when I replaced the top part of the shot. And it worked because the actors ended up running underneath that crop line, and so that did not become an issue. And it just looks real. Now this shot, this looks a little more fantasy. You can kind of tell, something artificial about it, but I kind of liked that. I kind of liked the fantasy of it. And this one was not really done out of necessity, as it was just that I wasn't happy with this shot. This is the original shot, and I just when we filmed it, I wasn't very satisfied with the location I had picked, and I thought this image just kind of came out looking flat, and I wanted to do something to help it. I also had to flip this picture, flip it around so that way they're walking the other direction. And that was to help with the editing because they meet two girls along the path, and just to show them walking from the right way. And I created a large sort of matte painting, or digital painting, if you will, kind of a large one. So it extends up into the sky. That way, I was able to manufacture a camera tilt down that looks like it's coming down from the sky, and it just makes the world seem a whole lot bigger. It looks a little fantasy, but it expands the world, and I think that that's what that scene really needed.